Hello and welcome to Heartrepreneur TV. I'm your co-host Velma Gallant, and our names disappeared again. So apparently there's something funky going on there. Anyways, I'm just going to get right to it here. I have an amazing guest here today. The show title is the CAN System to Networking: Create, Content, Collaborate, and Networking. So this is going to be an amazing topic for us. Our guest today is Ben Albert. Ben is the owner of Balbert Marketing LLC. He is also the curator of the Real Business Connections Network, where he hosts 5 podcasts. Once an underdog, now a successful entrepreneur, Ben is passionate about helping other underdogs achieve their dreams. Ben is on a mission to actually move the needle on 1 million lives, one conversation at a time. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks for having me, Velma. This is going to be fun, and our names are back. So I don't know what you did, but it's working. We're in
I took
business.
I took that silly banner off.
Oh,
I wanted, I love experimenting and trying new things. That's change and all of that kind of stuff. We find out things through failures, and so the failure was when I put the banner up. Watch this. It stops working. So banner. There we go. See, names disappear.
huh.
But there's today's topic. So it's a fun little glitch we got going on, but that's okay. So, anyways, let's get to this because I love what you're up to. I love your mission to move the needle on 1 million lives, one conversation at a time, because I don't know if anybody else has noticed, and you don't know me yet. I like talking. I love conversations. I've grown to be excellent at listening, and I love that interaction conversation. So I really love the mission that you've got going on here.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about, let's just start with the CAN system to networking. Tell me a little bit about that.
Can we start with failure and then we'll go into CAN system?
Absolutely.
Because when COVID hit, and we don't have to get. Sometimes I need to take a deep breath. But when
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit, I was furloughed from my sales executive role, and in just over a year, I was able to replace that income as an entrepreneur.
Nice.
And that's not to impress or to be braggadocious. It's to impress upon the point that what I did isn't rocket science and you guys can do it too. And part of me feels like I got lucky, but people have been telling me that I made my own luck. It was just the perfect time in my life. And to talk about the CAN system, that's ultimately how I did it. And there's
Okay.
lots of C's. I feel like I add a new C every single day, but create, content, collaborate, and network. Content and networking, create and network, collaborate and network. A lot of people I know personally, I could talk your ear off, but that's in a one-to-one conversation because I was a shy kid the first 13 years of my life, hardly spoke a word. And when I'm in networking scenarios, I'm not the life of the party. I'm just not. Maybe that's a limiting belief, but I'm more a quiet, reserved person that likes to go deep in conversation. So networking always didn't feel not icky, but it just wasn't my strong suit. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the avid networker and I avoided it at all costs pretty much my entire life. And then I started to realize that networking doesn't just have to be what do you do? Here's a business card, move on to the next person. Networking can actually be a means of finding collaborators and providing mutual value,
Right.
creating and networking. And uh, I, I didn't know what I was doing, but now I came up with a term to kind of codify all of it. And I call it creation driven networking. It's when
Mm.
finding creative collaborators to create content with. So finding creative collaborators to create content with, if there's enough C's, create and build relationships. Create and relationships is what drives the purpose behind your networking. So what I did in my version of Can, and we can talk about all these different ways where you can create content, collaborate, and network together. What I did is it was during a pandemic. There was no in-person networking. There was a lot of confusion. We all felt disconnected. I started a local business podcast. Nowadays, it's Real Business Connections, but it was seeded from a local podcast called Rochester Business Connections. And it was a Rochester, New York, my hometown, business podcast for business owners where I ultimately promoted all the great business people in the city.
Mm.
So we can stop there, or I can just keep going and tell you exactly what it did.
So I've got all kinds of juicy things coming out of this. I've been listening, and I've gotten much better at not interrupting people, but I got to tell you, I get really excited about it.
Cool.
So you talked straight out about being lucky, and I don't remember where I heard this, and it's quite a popular way to say it. Is luck is when um, preparation meets opportunity,
Oh, I like that.
right? And that's what I'm hearing is it, yeah, maybe you were lucky, but you were prepared and there was an opportunity, and that's what created that. And I love that you have so many C's in your can.
Yes.
So what I saw when I saw that, because creation, content, collaboration, those C's really spiral together beautifully around that networking, right? So I could actually see like all of those C's around the outside of the can. So those I really loved, and you had shared that you in your past you've been quite a quiet person, and not the life of a party, but you figured out how to do networking really well for you. And one of the things that I recognize about that is, so my mom, I'm the chatterbox in the family. My sister's kind of in the middle, and then my mom is quite quiet. And my mom had made comments to me about how she can't language things the way that I do. And I'm like, that's because God made you with beautiful ears, right? So what I'm hearing is you're probably in the middle, like my sister. We've got the beautiful ears and the gift of being able to articulate it back to them. So there was a lot of juicy stuff in there. And so the other part that I heard is that part of that opportunity and preparation was taking your ability to listen and articulate and turning that into a beautiful podcast where you got to collaborate with your local businesses. So how's that? Did I hear you well?
You heard me well. You could tell my story for me. And to provide more just color to it all. I was very quiet when I grew up, and I was the shortest kid in school, second shortest behind a little girl named Olivia Lee. And my father was an alcoholic. My mom had a mental disability. I felt very disconnected and quiet and different most my childhood and most my life. Um, I didn't realize it at the time, but my growth mindset, my love of learning, my curiosity, my willingness and wantingness to put the chips on the little guy and support someone with a big vision that maybe doesn't have capital yet, but just people with big visions. That's where it came from. And when I got into the music industry, and I wasn't the best musician, but I was handing out flyers and I was setting up MySpace pages and building websites poorly and doing the merch booth. I didn't realize I was going to be a marketer. I didn't realize I was going to be a podcaster, but all these life experiences were happening for me that when COVID hit, I kind of made my own luck because I had an opportunity to stack all these life experiences. I didn't even mention like my experience working as a sales executive in the corporate world. All these all these things were happening that put me in a place when I was in a really dark spot, and honestly, I was drinking myself into a stupor and I didn't know what to do next. It was by creating and networking with brilliant people, learning with them, meeting new people, and ultimately creating content together, which for me was the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Podcast isn't the only way to do it, but by creating content with the people, the seat at the table that I didn't have, but the people I wanted to meet, the seat at the table I wanted. Well, there was no seats at the table. So you know what I did? I brought my own table, put up a sign and says, "Who wants to be on a podcast?" And before you
Mhm.
know it, I was surrounding myself with the people that I was meant to surround myself with. And I was building a business by building these relationships and creating content with these people.
I love that. I love that. And I recognize it so much. And so I heard a lot like your curiosity and your creativity, that really is in alignment with the preparation. Like that is where you were preparing. Because I mean, doing websites badly, I recognize that. I did that a lot too, and I recognize the creating your own table. I mean, people who are here in Heartrepreneur, a lot of them know me and know that I had a podcast from 2007 to 2011, and effectively that's what I did was I created my own table where I had speakers, authors, teachers, all of that kind of thing come and sit down and have a conversation with me about their stuff, and that's again where I recognize your business podcast. Basically, you said, "Hey, come on up to my table and let me talk about you." And I love that because that is that collaborative, creative environment,
Yeah.
and it's so important in this world, especially today.
There's an old adage, the best way to be interesting is to be interested.
Mhm.
Well, if you're doing something you're interested in, you're going to be interested. You're going to be interesting. So I wanted to learn from brilliant people. I love podcast. I love connection. I love community. I just loved learning and honestly leveling up. So I had a good podcast because I was passionate about it and I was interesting. And the podcast was interesting because I was interested. Um,
Mhm.
and we can sidestep any direction you want, but I want people to understand it doesn't have to be a podcast. It's creating a network. It's
Mhm.
collaborate and network, but it doesn't have to be a podcast. It-
No, there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to play with that. I mean, so I've now heard five C's. Curiosity and community can be thrown in there as well, right?
oh yeah, curiosity is more inner. It's well, curiosity and networking, that could be a whole different course in itself, how to be more curious.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's valuable to bring that curiosity with us out into the world because I think that curiosity is part of what you were talking about with the growth mindset, right? That curiosity kind of keeps that growth mindset going. And so okay, so we know about podcasting, and I know that's something that I'm passionate about and I have a lot of fun with. Um, right off the top of my head, the first thing that came to my mind is, a lot of these like networking events. And a lot of those networking events are happening virtually as well, the virtual dinner parties and stuff
Hmm.
like that. There's so many creative ideas around this. What else have you seen out there or that have you poked at?
Yeah. So networking events are great. A key here is you're creating content. So you're building a personal brand, you're building a business brand. Um, you're networking to get to know each other and build a relationship, but also to create something. So if it's a virtual event, have someone taking screenshots, click record,
Mm,
turn it into shorter micro content, things like that. If it's an in person event, find a photographer and say, hey, I, it costs $1,000 to sponsor, but I want to put you on the sponsor list for free if you'd come and take photos of the event. Then you have a photographer collaborating to take the photos at the event that you're running. Again, you're not running the event yourself. You found someone to collaborate to run the event with. Um,
mm-hmm.
I like talking about photography for whatever reason. I'm a bad photographer, but I love talking about photography. And I'm going to get very nuance here and kind of get into like sales structure around this kind of thing. So
Okay.
let's say you have a photography side hustle and you haven't really gotten much momentum yet, but you have time and you love doing it. So you're willing to donate some of your time. If you're not willing to donate any time, this isn't going to work. And it's actually going to be hard to scale your business if you don't donate any time for anyone ever. But that's beside the point. You go to one of the largest, most popular local restaurants and you say, I would love to take a picture of your environment, the people, the food, the staff. Would you be willing to have me come in and take photos? I'm really just trying to, build my portfolio and I love what you're doing here. They say no, go to somebody else and say the same thing. You come in, you take pictures of their food, their staff, the environment. Then maybe you do that for restaurant B and then restaurant C. And then when you go to restaurant D, you say, "Hey, I'd love to take a pictures of your food for your new menu and take some pictures of this environment. It's beautiful here. I've already worked with restaurant A, B, and C. You really want to get into it? This is the photos. These are the endorsements they gave me. I thought you'd be interested in me, working with you too." And you took something that was a collaboration to build the portfolio, build the endorsements with thought leaders in the restaurant industry. And then when you go and actually pitch yourself at a monetary level, you have something to show them. So by creating a networking to start, you actually have something to show the next person that you speak with. And that's one example. We can get into more, but does that make sense? Do you think the photographers would like to do that?
Absolutely. And what I'm hearing is when you're looking at donating, the possibility of donating your time and your skills is you want to do it strategically. You don't want to be
Yeah.
just running around willy-nilly and stuff like that. And to be quite honest, I don't think I would advertise that I'm donating my time. I mean, I see a lot of that kind
Mm.
of stuff about, well, here, you should do this for me because I'm an influencer and I will get you blah, 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 blah. And so there's a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of, well, you
Mm.
did it for free for so and so kind of thing. And so I think we do need to be really strategic about it and conscious about, oh, conscious, that could be another C.
It is. And you're so spot on. You're so spot on. Thank you for the distinction because words like donation, y- yeah, it's not the best word. This is your table. You're inviting them to it.
Hmm.
So you're not donating your time to get a seat at theirs. You're the one starting this. So intentionality, consciousness is very important. You don't want an ulterior motive. You want to give 100 times knowing you'll receive 20. Like you don't
Hmm.
have to be keeping track every time. You don't want an ulterior motive, but you do want some intentionality to it. Who do I want to create a network with? Who do I want to collaborate with and why? And give, give graciously. And what's
Hmm.
going to end up happening is you're not going to have that much more to give because you have a bunch of clients, and that's a great problem to have. And then you get even more conscious, intentional, and even more selective, but you always want to be giving more than you receive.
So conscious collaboration versus donation.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. I like it. It is a donation of time because your time is tremendously valuable, but a lot
Hmm.
of people forget the nuanced skill set. You'll get better at your craft. You'll get better at presenting an opportunity to someone. You'll build your portfolio. It's a donation of time, but it's actually putting money. Basically, you're donating that time to build something bigger than yourself that is going to end up paying dividends. You just have to, in essence, in fact, you're working for free, but you're not working for someone on their do this, do that. You're collaborating with them and you can walk away at any point if they're not
Hmm.
the kind of person you want to have in your collaboration circle.
Beautiful, beautiful. I like that. I found another C for you. Contribution.
Contribution. We could just do a podcast on C's. They're all intertwined. Don't know what is about the letter C, but all of these things are intertwined. They all work together.
They are, and I think um, conscious collaboration and contribution all replace that word donation
Yes.
very effectively. It has the same. It has the heart behind what the choice of donating your time, but contributing your time
Mhm.
has gives it a value instead of donating. Like donating, it's not that donating doesn't have a value, but it's more of it feels to me, and this is just me, it feels to me contribution feels like I'm really giving something of value. Nobody's taking anything from me. Nobody has an expectation from me. But I get to contribute to them. Whereas a donation almost sounds like um, somebody's taking from me. I'm
Yeah.
choosing it, but oh, choose. There's another one.
Love it. Well, you can donate money or you can contribute time. And your time's just as valuable as money in some scenarios. So it's a conscious contribution. I like that. That's why it's the can system and not the Dan system.
Some Dans might not like that.
Well, they can come up with a different system.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
So you mentioned you have 5 podcasts. So I'm curious. I'm curious how do they intertwine? Like how do they relate or not relate? And the other part of it is how do you manage that?
It's so the way I manage it is they do all intertwine. Um, it sounds more robust than it is. Technically, it's 5 podcasts, and I'm thinking about launching another one, which would make it 6, but they all work together. So everything on the Real Business Connections network is based around business and personal growth. I feel like growing your business allows you the
Mhm,
opportunity to have the lifestyle you deserve, but you can't grow your business if you're not growing self while you do it and if you're not
mhm,
helping each other while you do it. So we get very nuanced into the personal growth end of growing a business. And then I don't know if you want me to go through every segment hits one of those or both of those in a
mhm,
different way or in a different format. So I do long form interviews. I also do 15-minute Friday, which is easy to implement business tips. I do Ben's Bites, which are monologues, which is just me for more of the thought leadership. So it's all around business and personal growth, but each podcast is a separate segment and I have them all labeled as a different segment. So theoretically, if you only wanted to listen to Ben's Bites episodes, you could listen to just Ben's Bites, or you can pick and choose, but they all live on one home base. So there's 5 to 7 shows depending on the day, but they're all on one stream, organized kind of topically based on the format.
interesting. I'm going to have to go snoop at that. What
Seeing's
what I'm
believing.
well, and what I'm hearing is, this is part of, I think, the creativity aspect of it is that um, there's no one way to do things, and you get to create the best way for you according to who you are, how you operate, where your creativity is, how you like to collaborate with people, what kind of community you're wanting to create. So I'm really hearing that I get to choose. Oh, there's another C.
Choice. Choose. No, you're 100% correct. I'm definitely managed ADHD, and this is an exercise that can get out of hand, but I love it. Every morning I write down 10 ideas. And when I
Mm,
start to run out of ideas, I just like pick a word and then I write like synonyms or I write things I'm grateful for. But I make a list of 10 every single morning, 360 something days a year, depending on the year. Um, I miss days. I'm not perfect, but you become an idea machine, and certain ideas and concepts keep coming up. And then if they keep coming up, I consider implementing them. And after I go through the consideration phase, then I implement the best ones. So each of the segments of my podcast have a specific meaning and purpose, and they speak to the same audience but in a different way. And then if you really get microscopic, I haven't done a lot of it yet, but we're looking to create more reels and YouTube shorts and micro content because the podcast doesn't help the person that's only looking for a 45-second video. an hour-long conversation, that 45-second video person's not going to tune in. So
Yeah.
I want to meet my audience where they are. The message is consistent, just the format changes based on the purpose and the platform.
Right, right. And so I also heard concepts and connect. I think we did talk about connect
Are
before,
you
but
writing all these down?
I wrote some of them down. But yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
This,
But and I really love that because um, writing down the 10 ideas every day and incorporating, if the ideas don't come out, still move right into the gratitude, because the idea of gratitude
yeah,
is really beautiful, and that can create more as well. So I really love that idea. I know for myself, I write down my 3 gratitudes every morning and my intentions of being every day. I learned this from Terry, of course, GID, and that's 3 gratitudes, 3 intentions, which I do intentions for my day. So if my intention today, I think I did put creative down in my intentions today.
yeah,
Um, so I wanted to have my being is going to be creative today, and then 3 delegations, three things I'm throwing out to the universe, right? So and it's in alignment with what you're saying, and I love the idea. I think I might just throw in 3 ideas on that.
yes, yes. It's quick, it's easy, and I feel bad for the Dans out there. My brother's name's Dan. I love him. We're getting Chinese later today, but we're human beings. We're
Hmm.
not human doings.
Yeah.
It's not doing, it's being. So another D word that apparently doesn't land, but
Well, but the actions do come out of the can system, right?
yes,
Like we start with our creativity and our ideas and all of that kind of stuff, and then we take action on those, and that creates the doing. So the doing is, it is part of an equation,
it is.
absolutely, because if we just sit there and spin in our heads with ideas and don't actually take action on them, we're not going to get anything done either.
You're right. And I'm probably projecting a little bit because I've been a doer my whole life. And it wasn't until recently that I actually focused more on being, because you can come up with the perfect idea, with the
Hmm.
perfect offer, with a great 5-step system. But if you feel like it's draining you and it's stealing energy from you, it doesn't matter how perfect it looks on paper. It doesn't matter how nice the can system looks on paper. You need to find a way to put it into your life in a way that energizes you rather than take it away. And I spend most of my life doing things that looked great, but then I ended up miserable, sad, alcoholic, like struggling. So don't just take this and think, oh, these things that Ben Velma talked about are great and just copy them. Incorporate and integrate them into your life the best way that works for you based on your purpose, passion, vision. And yeah, I,
Well, and that leads back to, the purpose of this group, and the purpose of Heartrepreneur TV is doing it from the heart, because if your strategy is from your heart, if your creativity is from your heart, then the actions end up being those conscious kinds of actions. So you're consciously doing things rather than unconsciously doing things. And I know I've been a doer a lot of my life. I think I had an idea for a book, and I actually ended up writing an article about it years ago called
oh,
"Do Do Get Keep Your Do Do Hands Out of Your Effortless Pie,"
okay.
because do do gets you in do do.
That's true.
So, Ben, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your time with us here, sharing your ideas about the CAN system of networking and your creative ideas. And I hope to see comments in the group, not a C word, comments in the group sharing what I want to hear, what you guys who've been listening to this got out of this. What made sense for you? And for those of you out in YouTube land, come on over to Facebook groups, and check out Heartpreneurs with Terry Levine. You'll be able to connect with some amazing heart-based business owners like Ben, like Terry, myself, and we have a brilliant community. We'd love to have you. Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate your time. This has been brilliant.
This was fun. And if somebody counted all the cans, or even better, not cans, all the C's, or even better, made a list, put that in the comments as well. I want to see how many we said today. So
Well, and if you got another one, add to it.
please add to the list. We just got started.
That's right. Okay, brilliant. Thanks so much, Ben, and thank you everyone for coming and joining us.
Thanks for having me.